Good evening, citizens of Portsmouth, my colleagues on City Council. I call to order the special call meeting for today. And Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes.
Present.
Mr. Hugo.
Present.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke. Here. Mr. Moody.
Here.
Mr. Tillage.
Here.
Dr. Whitaker.
Present.
Mayor Glover.
Here. And we do have a need to go into a closed session, and Madam Vice Mayor, would you please read the motion?
Yes, I will. I move to go into a closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code subsection 2.2-3711A.29 for the purpose of discussing the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds to an executive search firm, including an interview with an offerer and discussion of the terms or scope of said contract, where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, and pursuant to Virginia Code subsection 2.2-3711A.6 for the purpose of discussing and considering the investment of public funds where competition or bargaining is involved, where if made publicly, initially the financial interests of the governmental unit would be adversely affected, specifically regarding the Hampton Roads Regional Jail.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you
That's
call?
a question.
Dr. Whitaker, you have the floor, sir.
The call meeting that we're having was a result of the email that I sent on, I believe it was August the 17th, after we had received an email, very disturbing email from the sheriff regarding the Hampton Road Regional Jail and the interim city manager. It was the request of that Mr. Moore, Sheriff Moore, be here at that meeting. It's my understanding that Sheriff Moore is not able to be here at the meeting. I am not interested in meeting and discussing the Hampton Roads Regional Jail without Sheriff Moore being present. I don't see any reason why he cannot be a part of that discussion, and I think that before we move forward with that he should be present in those discussions. The second issue I have is that we're going into closed session to discuss a search firm for the city manager, for which we already know we're not going to hire this firm. Their price is 3 times higher than the lowest bid. And I'm not going to be a part of the shenanigans of trying to go through the motions and make it seem like we're doing something which isn't going to happen. And so I would request of my colleagues that we would change this meeting to a time that is convenient when the sheriff can be here to explain the points of his email, which is the original request of this meeting, and also where we can have a legitimate interview with a firm that we would actually be considering.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. And I will address both of those concerns. First, the city attorney did send out a communication as to why it was inappropriate to have a closed meeting with the sheriff, and she can elaborate on that. Number 2, no decision has been made as to who we would hire to be a search firm, and as a result, this body indicated that they would interview the person who was put forth to us. I don't understand really where you are talking about with shenanigans. We are following a process that we all agreed upon. So as a result of that, we are here today to discuss and meet with the individual who showed up. The first part of the motion will deal with the jail issue as it relates to where we are and what the attorney is here to present to us with our city manager. The second part of the motion will deal with the search firm. You are welcome to stay, sir, if you wish, or you're welcome to leave if you wish. That is certainly your prerogative, but we as a body are going to move forward.
Right, and I don't need you to tell me that. The other part of this is that the email from the city attorney that did not speak to the issue that I'm raising, because who council invites into a closed session, that was not the gist of her email. Matter of fact, she even makes a qualifying statement to that regard. And as far as the search firm, I think that we've had some advice on that as well, that did not follow really a process. It was compromised, and so I'm not going to waste my time in here going through the motions of something that you already know what the end is going to be. And so that's where I am. I think that all of this tension between the city manager, interim city manager, and the sheriff makes it even more that he needs to be present to discuss.
And that's understandable.
So that's where I am on it. What I decide to do will be my decision. It will not be influenced by anything that you suggest.
Absolutely, and I'm certainly grateful that you mentioned that. And if I could just add the last piece, the relationship between our interim city manager and the sheriff is a relationship between two professionals that they should have the ability to work out together. It is not in our purview to tell any one of those two professionals how to conduct themselves. And I believe at the end of the day, they will do what's most appropriate in the best interest of our city. That is the way we're going to proceed.
Yeah,
so we're now going to move on into the closed
That may be
session.
true. That may be true for persons that are not under council purview, what you just said. But persons that are under council's purview, there is some accountability.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that comment. So we'll proceed on with our closed session.
We have to vote.
So we do need to vote. So Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes? No. Mr. Hugo?
Aye.
Mrs. Lucas Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Mr. Tillage?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
No?
Mayor Glover?
Yes.
And Madam Clerk, could you make it clear on the notation of the minutes that I am saying no because of the lack of Sheriff Moore being present, and also because of the illegitimacy of the search process?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We are in close. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I hereby move that each council member certify that to the best of his or her knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes? Mr. Hugo?
Aye.
Mrs. Lucas Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Mr. Tillage?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker is left. Mayor Glover?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
That concludes our meeting. Meeting is adjourned. See you guys tomorrow.